Welcome, Joyson, to Sippin Sunday. I'm very excited to have you on as a guest.
Thank you, Amber. I am just as excited to be on today's episode.
This is good. I'm actually very excited. I'm excited about every guest because it's such a unique conversation about what you've done through adulting, how you got to adulting, what you're currently doing. So I'm excited. Can you let us know what you're sipping on?
Absolutely. Amber, I'm sipping on none other than Jay's Watermelon Asia. This is
Yes,
our new seasonal blend of watermelon, apple, and ginger. So we're staying hydrated on this episode, Amber. What
and it
about
tastes
you?
very fresh. I like it a lot. It's very fresh. The ginger, watermelon, and what an apple you said.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, in my glass as well. And what age do you feel like you became an adult? If you reached that age yet.
Ooh, Amber, I'm not even 25. I'm thinking 25 might be when I become an adult. Um, But honestly, I think the age I would say is maybe when I was 18, where I really had to come to terms with some things that I was hiding and wasn't comfortable with about myself. But, really having the courage to be honest with my truth of who I was around like 18 years old. Was
Okay.
one of the times I think I got my entry into adulthood.
Okay, 18. And how old are you now again?
I'm 24.
Okay, so you're almost 25. This year
Yeah,
you turn 25?
yeah. Actually, this Saturday, February 15th, I'll be 25.
I do not remember if you ever told me that your birthday was on your event. I think you
Oh,
missed that detail.
Oh, really? It's kind of like, yeah, pretty much the Be More Heart Healthy celebration is on my birthday.
Okay, so it's be more heart healthy plus your birthday celebration. So
Yeah,
then
yeah,
once
yeah.
you get into 25, I'll have to ask you in a couple months, how are you feeling about adulthood?
No, yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned that from 18, that's when you felt like you were becoming an adult just because of some things that you were experiencing. So how do you feel like you navigated through them from 18 to now?
Yeah, I would say when I was younger, there were just things about myself that were hard to accept. My losing my mom, for instance, was a painful experience that I didn't really accept at the time or talking about. Um, my sexuality, different things, just learning who I'm interested in, sex and relationships was also an area that I wasn't, always proud of and courageous about. But I think that I really had to find acceptance in, the painful experiences, the things about myself that I, maybe didn't want to accept, but reality is they're a part of my life, they're a part of my lived experience, and I had to be in a place of accepting who I am and everything that's happened and been a part of my life experience.
Yeah. And how did you learn to accept it? Or if there's an example you can give of a moment when you're like, I'm pushing this away, but now I've realized that this has to be okay for me to move forward in my life for myself.
Yeah, I think when it came to the loss of my mother, for instance, I realized I was just suppressing that experience and the impacts of a lot of stress. I fell into addiction. I just was not taking the best care of myself. And at the same time, I wasn't talking about this really big experience that I had to anyone. And I knew I didn't want to continue this suppressing. I actually couldn't. There was a time I just became like super depressed, like in my bed, and a psychiatrist just prescribed me these antidepressant pills. What I really think I needed was to be open and honest about what I was dealing with. And so I remember one day going to a counselor and just opening up about, my experience, what I was dealing with, talking about my mom for the first time. It just felt so freeing and liberating. Like it was difficult to accept that, but the level of relief that came from being able to just, accept, this is what happened and having the freedom to express those emotions, it felt like a weight lifted off of my shoulders, but it also invited the support that I needed. Now that someone else knew what I was going through, they could offer some empathy, they could offer some resources, they could offer some understanding. Because I also realized I'm not the only one that dealt with the loss of a loved one. I'm not the only one that maybe dealt with being ashamed of, my sexuality. I'm not the only one that had these challenges that before I kept to myself, but after really opening up about them, provided an avenue for me to find acceptance, but also community.
Yeah, and literally you getting to community at the end as you're talking, that's what I was thinking about is that something bad or negative or something that's just bringing you down happens, you always think like, why would anybody care if I talk to them about this? I'm just gonna keep pushing. Like, I don't need to discuss this with anybody. Like, I'm gonna be okay. And then it gets to the point where like you're actually not okay, and you realize you need to
Yeah.
talk to somebody. And I feel like it's a part of just human design and human nature, and you do have to go through that experience to know that you're not alone. But I wish there was a part that's just kind of like something happens and your brain doesn't send you into like the depression and like the downward spiral. It sends you to like, this is a bad thing that happened or something that's negatively affecting me. I'm going to do something positive or I'm going to talk to somebody about it. Our brains automatically go like negative, 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 and then you're too deep in a hole to get yourself out immediately. And as much time and effort that it took to dig yourself in the hole, it takes that much time for you to get out of it as well.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think traumatic experiences can often lead us to coping mechanisms that aren't the healthiest, maybe out of, fear, out of shame, out of what others may think. Or I know for me, just it being, hard for me to personally accept what happened and how it kind of eased me in a way going to things that would just cause me not to think about it, not to have to talk about it, but separated me from me actually able to address it, which led to my ultimate healing. And so, yeah, I think, most people, when it comes to things like addiction, often drug use or whatever it might be, can come from really wanting to soothe this pain that we have, because it can be hard to, face and deal with. But, as you shared, there are these other ways of having community, having conversations, therapy that are also, probably healthier ways to experience it.
Yes. How old were you when your mom passed?
I was 14 years old.
Yeah, yes, I can see. And do you think that that contributed to you feeling like an adult earlier on at 18?
I think so. That experience when I was 14, I certainly wasn't equipped with the emotional tools of how to handle. Like I say to myself, I knew trauma before I even knew trauma, right? Trauma wasn't a word that, nowadays we hear about trauma, but I wasn't into the mental health space and trauma when that experience, happened to me. And so I experienced, something that was very painful to deal with. And I really didn't know how to deal with that at a 14-year old. But then when I was turned 18 and decided, what, I'm not going to keep this to myself anymore. I'm going to have to face it and address it. I learned to really be able to deal with the truth head on, and accept things, and realize, I can't get through things on my own. Yeah.
No, we cannot. We cannot at all. And I mean, losing a parent or a loved one at that age is not something you are prepared to do. And I think that when you're in a school environment, you're going to class with people, you're just playing video games, hanging out, go to birthday parties, like living a typical teenager life. That's just not something you pictured that was going to happen during it. So to like casually bring up to your 14-year-old friend, like, hey, I'm really sad because my mom passed, like they also probably really wouldn't know what to say. They would just be like, okay, and then continue playing basketball. Like, and not because they don't want to help you, because they're another 14-year-old also unsure, like, what does this mean or what's happening?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so true. Like for one, just that experience was unimaginable. Um, like just unimaginable. Like I really didn't know it was real, and so it was interesting, bringing people with. I was my mom, there would be this, I didn't know how to respond to those questions because I think I was still processing this tragic event that happened in my life. But this experience actually led me to a lot into learning about mental health, learning about grief, learning about, my entire holistic journey, I think really came about from me experiencing these experiences that impacted my soul.
Yeah, no, that all makes complete sense. And I think anytime I talk to somebody that is in Gen Z, in the generation Gen Z, I feel like you all are learning things earlier, which sounds sad, or sometimes they're kind of like, oh wow, like I wish people weren't learning about this earlier. But if you didn't, you wouldn't be where you are now. Because when I met you, I definitely thought you were older. I was like, oh, you're only like 24. Like, who knew? Who knew that that was the case based on just how you are, like how you show up, what you know. And it's not saying that a 20 something year old can't know about these types of things. They're just not typically talking about these types of things. And from my professional work, working with high school students, I just know that adults, like older adults, always count younger people out because they think that they don't know anything. And that is really not the case at all.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Especially in a place like Baltimore, young individuals often experience adulthood at an early age, maybe having to, take care of their parents that might be dealing with a mental or, lifestyle, behavioral challenge, having to live in an environment where there might be a lack of access to resources and economic supplies. So, I think many of our young people are having these adult experiences at an early age. I know for me, I likely also had that adversity that led me to have to like mature and develop some, resilience at an early age as well.
Yeah. And what did you do after you graduated high school? Like, what was your initial plan? And then did your plan work out that way? And what do you reflect on it now, being a 20
Yeah,
something year old?
yeah, Amber. So high school was a rough time for me. It was really was. It was, I was 14. I think I had these goals of like going to Harvard and graduating with like a 4.0. I wanted to write my first book and have my business by the time I was 18. And of course, life had some unexpected things that happened. And so my high school journey was filled with waking up late to school, not really studying and doing homework, and also me just really not taking best care of myself mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually when I graduated that I had that time with my counselor that I opened up with my mother and some of the other challenges I was dealing with that affected me academically. And that inspired me to be like, you know what? I do not have to allow my experience to take away my joy. Perhaps this is an opportunity to really, transform my life. I think I thought, my mother would want me to continue to go after my dreams and to become, the best version of me. So I really recommitted to my personal wellness journey, really taking better care of myself, getting the support that I needed after high school because I think after that really low period, I was like, I'm ready for some joy.
Joyson, your mom and dad named you the perfect name, as I told you before you came on here and before we started, that your name just matches you perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, but it's why I was actually named after my dad. So my name was Jason, but during my this transformation I had, I renamed myself Joyson, and my last name BaLisamore is actually a combination of Baltimore, where I'm born and raised, and my mother's name. Her name was Lisa, so I changed my name to kind of match this kind of new transformation that I had experienced after a long time of really just not having joy.
Oh my god, this just makes it even better because as many times as I told you I loved your name, I didn't even know that. So you were named Jason, which honestly still isn't too far off from Joyson, though.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you, after your transition, were like, I'm going to reclaim ownership of my life and want
right,
to
right.
reignite, not taking away from what your parents named you because you still
Mm,
infused that into that.
yeah,
So what? So
exactly.
this is your legal name now,
Yeah,
Joyson
yeah,
BaLisamore.
yeah. That's my legal name. It was a process, but it's my legal name.
Oh my God! Wow. So your name was Jason, and what was your family last name?
So my family last name was Whiting, Jason Whiting.
Mm-mm. No,
Yeah,
doesn't fit you. No,
no,
mm-mm.
exactly. I was
No.
like, that's not for me. That's
I
not
can
for
see
me.
Jason. Jason, yes, but
It's,
no.
it's
Okay,
giving,
we
it's
love this.
giving Joyson. It's giving Joyson.
And so, wow, I love this even more. Okay, great. We love that. That is so good. What age did my brain's swirling? People who listen know that my brain starts swirling at a quicker rate than I'm able to compute what I'm trying to say. What age did you change your name?
I believe it was in 2022, 2023, I started calling myself Joyson. And it was December of 2023, I believe. No, it was it's 20,
The years jumbled together, but
no, I know.
recently,
I
basically.
think it was no, yeah, it has to have been December 2023. I legally, yeah, so I was 23.
Okay. Yes, recently. Okay. And you came up with Joyson because your name was Jason, but you wanted to reclaim the joy of your
Yeah,
life after the couple of years you had that were just like, this is not it. This is
yeah,
not doing what I
yeah,
thought it was gonna do.
yeah. You know, Amber, I was like, in order for me to live out my truth, I have to accept. So I mentioned my mom, I didn't think about her, I didn't talk about her because the challenge of remembering her and what happened. I was like, I'm going to reclaim some. And growing up in Baltimore, I also wasn't always so happy to be from our city because I personally witnessed and experienced some of the challenges, like violence, like poverty and other conditions. There's a stigma, unfortunately, around Baltimore. But I also reclaim the joy of my city. There's so much joy in Baltimore. I was like, I love this city. I'm glad to be from here. Um, and so, yeah, all of that is a part of who I am. And it's built me, shaped me, and
We
developed
love
me.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And then going into reclaiming joy and just what Baltimore stands for, you have a business. And so now, even knowing with the name thing, I feel like there's probably even more about the business I didn't know that really goes back to like what you're doing and why you started it and who you are. So let's shift a little bit about this tasty watermelonade that is not just
yeah,
about watermelonade.
yeah, absolutely, Amber. So, as I mentioned, I love watermelon. It's like my favorite fruit. But there's actually an amazing connection to watermelon and the health of our community. So one thing that I developed growing up was high blood pressure. I attribute that to, the stressful experience that I had. I also attribute it to the lack of knowledge about nutrition. Growing up, we ate like fast foods, sodas. I love me some strawberry milk at lunch every day. But when it comes to the impact of these foods on our bodies, on our health, they're actually not the best. So it's unfortunate that, unfortunately, a lot of our communities are impacted by preventable conditions like diabetes, like high blood pressure, or heart disease. So how does this tie into watermelon? Well, watermelon has actually been shown to have wonderful benefits when it comes to heart health. It actually has these bioactive compounds that researchers have linked to actually supporting with heart health and managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. And I think it's interesting this month of like Black History Month. Unfortunately, there's this like stereotype or stigma around, Black people and watermelon, which
Yes.
is crazy given that heart disease is actually one of the biggest, causes of death in our community. And watermelon literally has been shown to have healing properties to prevent the
Look
very
at that. And they
thing
try to talk about us
that
and we try to heal our
no,
hearts.
no, no, exactly, exactly. So I say all that to say I wrapped up my personal experiences of health. Like I went on a holistic health journey of changing what I was eating, what I was consuming, how I was exercising, going eating more fruits, more vegetables, getting into exercise, being hydrated. And I wanted to really make that more accessible to other community members that I saw were still maybe dealing with health conditions or still consuming things that aren't the best. And so Jay's Watermelonade, we're all about promoting the goodness of watermelon. It's good for our hearts, it's good for our health. Um, and it's a lot better for us than maybe other beverages like sodas or other fruit and beverages that might have a lot of added sugars, artificial sweeteners and things like that. So it's been a joy to, create this beverage or this healthy hydration, as I call it. So not only something that people enjoy, but expose people to how good it can be to consume things that are good for our hearts and bodies, and to really get involved in a lot of ways. So Jay's Watermelon, we get so much community involvement. I'm excited, for the Be More Heart Healthy Fest this weekend,
Yes.
where it will be plentiful. Um, but yeah, Jay's Watermelon has pretty much been a joyful outlet for me to share wellness, share hydration, and promote heart health in a refreshing way.
Yeah, that is awesome. And so, one point to tie this together too, you thought you were going to go to Harvard, you mentioned, but as you're talking, I'm like, I feel like you probably wanted to go to some type of science field. I could be wrong, but that's what it
Oh,
sounds like you would have done because of all the words you just said about the watermelon and heart health and biochemics or biochematic,
yeah.
whatever the word
What
was used.
What's funny, Amber, is I learned all this on my journey of starting Jay's
Okay.
Watermelon. I did go to school and I studied business, and I went in college. I studied finance. I'm now studying entrepreneurship. But yeah, it's mainly been through this business that I've learned more about
Okay.
biochemistry and food science.
Okay. Because you still did something aligned with what you wanted to do, but it wasn't science. I would have bet my money on science, just the way that you were going through all the things just now.
Yeah, I did enjoy science. Science was one of my favorite.
Not I. I did not like science. I did not like social studies. I feel like social studies because I just couldn't retain all of that boring information. I was just like, why do we need to know about the first president? Like, this just seems like a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where it got you to the business. And you started the business in the recent years as well, correct?
Yeah. So I launched this business 2023 towards the end of 2023.
Okay, so this was a full rebirth situation because it was your name, the business, like this is what
Yeah,
I'm going to do. This is what is Joyson. We're doing the business, the name, reclaiming your health, and all the things.
yeah. That sounds like after I graduated, I guess I was like, you know what? It's time to transform and start this business.
Okay, wonderful. And with your business, because you've mentioned the issues that historically black communities have with health and trying to get your family on board or the elders on board can be difficult. So has that been a challenge to you just within your own family and friend groups of how you try to help them understand that they have better options, but they've been doing it for so long that they can't wrap their heads
Yeah,
around it.
you know, and it's funny you ask because I remember, after watching What the Health, and then I started working with a plant-based coach that got me together. I was like, I told my family, y'all, we getting rid of the chicken. We getting rid of that.
Well, don't tell the Hurt family that because at every function, those people will not have a function without fried chicken. And
No,
I
right?
like fried
Look,
chicken, but that is not the first thing I'm going to get. Like,
yeah. And it didn't work. I think I realized, like me, I don't know, like it was, I don't know, you can't just, when you talk about the elderly, we've been having, the same type of foods and the same type of beverages for like decades. So to instantly, and I think certain things like chicken, like meat, like sodas might be considered like we can't have a cookout or a good function without these staples in our community, right?
you bring out a salad or some baked chicken, they're gonna be like, excuse me?
Nah, for real. For real. Like we gonna have corn in the cob, but that's probably about it. But yeah, it's definitely been like a challenge because what I'm doing is introducing something like completely different from what the norm is. But it actually has been easier with something that's good because we love flavor. We like something that tastes good. So that has been, an easier way to be like, hey, this can taste just as good because really when it comes to things, we traditionally use plants, as our seasonings, as our herbs when we're flavoring things. So in my plant-based, journey, I discovered that's really what these alternatives to like maybe you want some like cauliflower chicken, like it's like the same thing. It's just not as processed. And there's a whole lot about the animal industry and factory farming that I don't
Yes,
have to get into today. But unfortunately, some of these staples are linked to conditions like cancer, high blood pressure, other things like that. So, it definitely has been a challenge, but I learned, what, maybe I don't have to like radically change other people's diets or lifestyle or habits, but if I can just introduce them to new information so that they're aware, or if I can, offer
exactly.
them a refreshing glass of watermelonade instead of,
And
maybe
it's
some other.
good. Like, I think that the watermelonade wouldn't be the issue to introduce. It's when you give them that and then you're like, okay, let's talk about taking out sugar. Let's talk about
Yeah,
stop
yeah,
frying chicken every single day. That's when it gets to
yeah,
be the problem.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because I know I just was tussling with my mom because she wanted me to put sugar in the brewed tea. And I
No,
was like, we
Amber,
don't,
you have to answer me this. I don't know why, like sugar on spaghetti. I mean, come on now.
I don't
I'm
put
sorry.
sugar on my spaghetti. I don't do that. I
I'm
think
sorry.
I've had it before, but I don't feel like you need it in there. I know some people like it because it cuts the
We
acid,
don't
but
need
I
it.
don't think you need sugar in spaghetti. That's
No,
my stance.
no,
Anybody
we
else is welcome to tussle with me about that. I don't think we need sugar in spaghetti. But with the tea, like it was fresh brewed tea bags, and I had some sugar free syrup from Sippin Sunday, which I don't even like really always like adding too many syrups and things. Like my coffee, I don't add any additional sugar. I'll just use my
hmm
creamer. But I was like, we don't need sugar in the brewed tea. Like it tastes
Yeah,
fine brewed without
yeah.
sugar. But when you're just used to having sugar, and all foods have added sugar, like even ketchup in the bottles, they add
I
sugar.
know it's
What do you need that
crazy.
in there for? They just are sneaking it in so
I
that you have
know.
the sugar addiction.
No, certain, Amber, I think one of the biggest surprises, why is vitamin water? It's,
Yeah, even like the healthy things have sugar
yes,
in them,
no,
but it's
exactly,
different when you are juicing fruits and getting the sugar from there
exactly,
versus a natural quote unquote drink in the store that has added sugar.
exactly.
What made me start really looking at labels, this was in like 2016 or 17. I did the whole 30 diet, where it's like for 30 days you're only eating whole foods, so just meat, fruits, vegetables, things that don't have any added ingredients or ingredients that you can't understand. That is what the diet is for 30 days, and you can't like remake foods either. So say like you wanted a pizza dough or a pizza, you shouldn't make a pizza based off of like the healthy whole ingredients if you use like the proper
Mm,
flour, the proper whatever, because it's trying to train your brain to not eat those processed things or eat things that are a whole bunch of ingredients that you don't understand. I made it through and I've wanted to do it again, but it's been like harder to try to do it now. So I just try my best throughout the week to eat better and like be mindful of stuff that I'm eating and buying. One day I will redo the whole 30 diet because it also helps you understand how different foods are affecting your body too, especially dairy. Like I don't do a lot of dairy except for cheese. That's the only thing that has a hold on me now, but otherwise I'm fine.
no, yeah, yeah, and honestly, Amber, like likewise too. As much as I am educated, I still to this day am working on eating healthier. I'm not always relying on fries because I think once you go plant based, we love some
Yeah,
some
but also
fries.
because I think like 5, 6 years ago, maybe even a little longer, but around that time when a lot of these diets started coming out, like keto, vegan,
hmm
or what are the whatever other diets people do. There just weren't a lot of other options. Like companies weren't making things for these
Right.
diets. So I feel like the easiest thing for people to eat was French fries or like potatoes because that was filling, but
Yeah.
that's not good to just keep eating that all the time.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And I think
But
in
yeah.
Baltimore, like we are a benefit, even though Baltimore is a food desert, when you get to the areas that have restaurants and they're local restaurants, I do feel like there are a lot of better healthy homegrown
Mm.
options and like fresh food options at restaurants, but we are still in a food desert as far as like the grocery stores and access and things like that.
No, yeah. What I love is we definitely have some amazing plant-based restaurants here
Yes.
in Baltimore. Even some, local like health farms, farmers markets things. So, despite unfortunately there are areas of food insecurity, there are, opportunities to local businesses, local, farmers that do provide access to healthier food options.
There definitely are. You just have to find them. But again, goes back to access and like how do you find those opportunities for people to be able to have healthier options and live healthier lives? Because the earlier you start, the longer you can live for one. And then the earlier you start, you're also just modeling those habits for other people around you, or when you have kids or when your kids have kids, you're modeling those things so that other people can continue to live well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And for people that are starting, or I would say starting their health journeys, because even the other day, this could have been yesterday, again, time and days are blowing together, but we were sharing like personal goals at work, and a lot of people were saying that they want to get back in the gym, trying to eat healthy, they're trying to take their vitamins, they're trying to do all of the things wellness related. What advice would you give to people that are restarting their wellness journey? They're trying to revitalize the wellness journey, they're just trying to be on some type of wellness journey.
I would say start slow and start small. I did not cut out chicken and barbecue wings and what pizza overnight. But I made a slow transition. I believe I first like cut out like pork in my diet. I went pescatarian, so mainly fish and items like that. And then yeah, made it easier to kind of eliminate like animal foods. Primarily, um, did that like for my own health. Yeah, my own health, wanting to like help with high blood pressure. Studies have revealed going like a plant-based diet can really help to reverse conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure. So for one, I think it's important to really know where your body is, what your body needs, and not radically making a huge transformation. Or even when I got into like exercising, just starting out with like a simple stretch. Like I might not be hitting the gym, 3 times, but I'm gonna commit to a stretch. And I think that is much more feasible compared to wanting to make like a radical change. Because studies show most people that start out going to the gym for New Year's, they don't, continue, right? Maybe it's not really
Yes.
making it a lifestyle out of it. But if you find ways, really just start with where you are, incorporating maybe like I don't know. Maybe this week you try adding a vegetable to your plate. Maybe this week you try going without sodas. Really get starting, and then it'll become easier to eventually, have more of a balanced, diet. Maybe get to a point where my personal goal is like it's a point where I'm actively meal prepping healthy meals. I'm not there yet, but I can take tiny steps and changes to get there. So I would say, yeah, you don't have to make a huge transformation, but really taking small steps that are easy and convenient will make it easier to have these longer, sustainable changes along your health and wellness journey.
Exactly. It's small wins and small actions and making it more of a lifestyle, not just saying you're going to go to the gym because it's New Year, because you're most likely not going to continue going. And I think for me, the mindset I have of just starting like any new habit is you don't have to wait till like a Sunday or Monday to start. You don't have to wait till the first of the month. Just start, and that is your new start, is whatever the day is. Because if you say like, oh, I'm going to start the first of the month, I'm gonna start on Sunday, I'm starting on Monday, and then the day comes and you're like, this day's not looking too good. I'll
Yeah,
try again next Sunday. Like that's like a whole week goes by. So if it already wasn't something you're doing, you're not going to do it.
No, that's so true, Amber. And one thing you showed at the last Sippin Sunday live was relying on an organization system like a planner to
Yes. I
really
have my notebook
commit
right
to
here
things.
every
Well, there you
episode.
go. There you go. And I know also something like that, like really, I think it's something, on this day, at this place, on this time, I'm going to work out because, we often have busy lives as, working for our companies or organizations, as business owners, family, relationships. We already have a lot going on. So I think it can be helpful to really be intentional about carving out space between or outside of your responsibilities so that when the day comes, you already plan to be there on it at the
Yes.
gym.
Yes. It has helped me so much because I feel like what we miss from school like grade school is the structure, but at the same time I try to think back to when I was in school and you had the classes that they told you to be at. They told you what time's recess, when's lunch, like when's this, when's that. I don't feel like those timelines particularly match every single student, but the idea
Mm,
of you're going to do this at this date and time helps significantly. And then this goes back to like, I feel like the number one thing I feel like everybody needs to do is know yourself and pay attention to like when you have the most energy in the day, when you
yeah.
are feeling tired after you ate ice cream sundae, like what did you have in there that makes you feel tired? Like what time is best for you to wake up, like what time do you need to go to bed. All sounds so silly and simple, but really realizing those things helps you to build a routine that works for you. And I do know that it's hard when you have a job that's not flexible, but sometimes within your job there's things that like you can try to do, like take your lunch break, make sure you just get up and walk around like for 5 minutes in between meetings or something like that. And I know people easily say like, oh, I'm just always so busy, but if you don't make the time, even just 5 minutes, like 2 minutes, something super simple and small, you're just gonna fall into bad habits. And then you're gonna wake up one day like, oh, like why am I sick? Because you have been working nonstop and never taking breaks or never getting outside. You're not drinking water. You're skipping meals. Or you're going to wake up one day and be like, oh my God, like I'm so drained on Saturday after this whole work week and I need to go do all these things, but I just don't have the energy. So I think getting to like the routine, and you really have to force yourself because I said this at Sippin Sunday Live for my planner, which is right here too. I had a hard time getting back to using it because from like 2020 to like 2023 ish, kind of was like things feel very up in the air. Like who knows what's going on? Like what am I even
Yeah.
planning for? Like so all my habits went out the window. But for the people that are watching this on YouTube, this is extensive.
Oh
This was
wow. Oh
January
wow.
and it was color coded by stuff. I had the goals. We have all the bills written out. We have all the stuff
Oh
for the
wow.
adult queen. Like this is what this looks like. It looks
She got
crazy.
she got it all planned out, y'all. When we picking up the groceries.
Exactly. Because
Yes.
you really have to. And then it just also helps you see where you're spending your time. And that I do feel like we
Yeah.
have more time than we think,
Mm.
but you have to like put it all out. Like you can't say
No,
tomorrow I'm gonna
yeah.
go get groceries, I'm gonna work
Right,
out, I'm gonna
exactly.
actually work, which is an 8-hour work day. Then you're gonna like call your mom. You're gonna
Yeah.
go get the car wash. Like no, no, all these things
Yeah.
can't happen at one day. You need to like plan out the week of like on this day I'm gonna do that, on this day I'm gonna do this.
Yes,
And
yes.
if on Friday I have time to do three things instead of one, that's fine. But like, don't try to cram. Going to exactly what you said, don't
No,
try to
yeah.
overwhelm all the things you're going to do because you want to start all these new things. That just won't work.
No, yeah. Facts.
And let me check my handy dandy notebook. This is why I really keep the notebooks around because I want to make sure I get to what I want to get to with everybody and don't forget something. The last thing before we go on to Sippin Sunday Live, which you mentioned briefly, and then you get to ask me a question. But my last question for you is: we're in the future. It's 2035, and you're seeing yourself now,
Ooh,
2025. What message would you tell them?
2035. And I'm giving a message to
To
myself
Joyson
now.
in 2035? from Joyson in
I
2025?
just want to say, when I'm 35, I hope I just got my toes out on a white sandy beach, and I'm sitting like,
Well, I hope so
I'm
too,
gonna
and
just,
that's next year
I'm
for
gonna
me.
just, oh, come on now, 25. This is gonna beat me at 26. I'm here for it. Um, Honestly, I would just tell myself, Jason, thank you for believing in yourself. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for inviting the support of your community into your dreams, into your wellness journey, because now you're free. Now you live it. Now you paying off your family's debt and providing jobs and getting your
Period.
community
You better
healthy.
go. You better make a note in your calendar on
Uh,
February 12th,
you
2035. You need to pull this episode back
No,
up.
no, I actually need to get a sheet of paper and like write this and like open this 2035. Or I'm
Yeah,
gonna come back to this episode.
exactly. No, that is wonderful. I think that going back to just saying like younger people starting things earlier, getting motivation to do something for uh, community and population earlier really will set you up for success to be doing exactly that when you're 35. You're going to be just going around the world tasting watermelon juice, helping people figure out what they're doing. You're going to be in Costa Rica like, let me test out your watermelons, please. Like, let me see what's going on here. So, yes, you also attended Sippin Sunday Live twice. You were at the one in August and the one in February, just last week. Last week is when it happened, I think. Again, days time's not real. So let me know about your experience. Just like first, why'd you come the first time? What did you get out of it? Why should other people come? All the things.
Yes. Well, ever since I was at the previous one, you have to remind me when we were at our time kitchen.
August was
August.
outside, and
Oh,
we were talking
yes,
about
yes.
celebrating your best life, and then
Yeah.
February was celebrating legacy, creating a history.
Yeah, yeah. Ever since then, I was like, it was a really good time, from music to the vibes, to the dinners to the discussion. I really enjoyed myself. And, while there, I know we were like, we gotta get Jay's watermelon. So it's crazy how yeah, had planned to really have Jay's watermelon a part of this Sippin Sunday Live experience. I think this February being Black History Month, Heartfelt Awareness Month, it was a really great tie-in. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one, just as much, maybe a little more because we got to give people the watermelonade.
Selfishly, you're like, this one was
um,
better.
but we had Nika's cupcake. Nika's cupcake was in the house. People discussions very relevant. Being with some gentlemen who were business owners and sharing about their journeys of managing business, managing relationships, organization. Things that are very relevant for me and where I am at this stage. I thoroughly, yeah, it was a really good time for discussions. Just
Yes, and how would you describe Sippin' Sunday to somebody that's never been? That's something I'm working on still because for the first one in last January 2024, it came not came across mysterious, but it just was like this was not an event people have seen before. And typically live podcasts are you just
yeah,
go, you listen to the podcast, you leave. But mine is not like that at all. It's interactive. You get to meet other people, you get to interact with businesses, you get
right.
giveaways. Like it's an experience. So how would you explain Sippin' Sunday Live to somebody that has never been?
Honestly, Amber, I want to say it's like watermelon age. You gotta try it to extent. You gotta get your ticket. You gotta come through.
I mean, yeah,
You
that's
gotta
personally how
go
I feel about it
through.
as well.
But as you said, it's like no other podcast live experience that you've been a part of before. I mean, similar to watermelon, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good, but there's nothing like really experience. Like you can say yes, it's good. You can say yes, it's awesome, but I don't think it's until you're actually a part of the experience that you'll get to experience all of the joy. That's a part of Super Sunday life.
Yeah, thank you. I really received that because I think after this last one, there were just some things that like I was beating myself up about, but not even really as far as like the execution of the event. It really was like logistical things that people would never even know
Uh,
about. So to
hmm.
hear everybody still be like, no, like it was amazing, like people just need to come, like this was a
Yeah.
great time. I believe that and know, but I'm sure you experience as well, just like as a business owner, like one person show, you're just kind of like, no, like I could have done this, I could have done that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
overthinking sometimes. But I'm like,
Hmm.
no, Sippin Sunday Live is great. It's an experience. And continuing to grow too. Like I feel like it seemed like to me this one had more people, but honestly, I couldn't even tell. It on my end seemed like such a blur that like there were so many people and so much happening that I felt like the day went by really quick, and then I was like, "Wait, like, was this person there? Like, did I see them? Like, I don't even remember now
Oh
because it just,
wow.
like, flew by."
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. It was quite a turnout. It was quite a
Yeah, I think
turnout.
it was good. It was a good time. I'm excited for the next one in August. I'm not sure the theme yet, but it will still be an experience. So you heard it from Joyson that you just need to come. He can't even explain it because he's so
Yeah.
blown away.
Yeah. 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 Y'all gotta come through. Look, some people flew out. You might have to fly out.
No, I did this one did have the most people travel, like, people from North Carolina, Florida, New York, Virginia, think different places. Like, the first one, like, my friends and my family and stuff came from New York, Virginia, and then the last one, somebody came from Philly, but this one, people, they really did travel. I was, like, just so grateful for people traveling and just coming and referring their friends to come and, like, posting it, so thanks, everybody. Keep that energy going
Yes.
for the next one
Yes.
in August.
Yeah.
And lastly, I'm not going to forget it because I have my notebook. You have the opportunity now to ask me any question before we close out and wrap this up.
Yes, Amber. My question for you is, as someone that is organized, balancing different things, running the podcast on top of the social media, how do you respond when the unexpected happens?
Oh, that is a
And,
good
and do you
question.
have an example?
Yes, I can. Okay, I'll think of an example. But for me, handling things unexpectedly or when stuff pops up or if stuff isn't going, something comes up unexpected, as I said, or not planned, I feel like I just am like, okay, let me take a moment. Like I don't want to make any rash decisions. I don't want to immediately get like irritated. I don't want to get annoyed because I feel like when I get annoyed or I'm irritated, it's like I just don't want to do anything else. Kind of like how when we said in the beginning of this episode of like when something negative happens and you just continue to like harp on that negative thing, it's hard for you to move forward. So
Yeah.
I just try to like take a moment to be like, okay, what am I going to do? What are my potential options before I try to move forward with this? An example is my car. At the end of December, I had brought my car to get it inspected because it still has New York plates, but I want to change it to Maryland now because I've been here for 5 years now. So I'm like, okay, I'll be in Maryland for a while. Should get the plates changed over.
Yeah.
And I took it to get inspected, and they were like, "Oh, you failed the inspection. This is the stuff that you need to get done."
What?
And it cost $3,100. And I was just like,
Oh, oh, oh. This was not on the plan
no, it was not.
or the budget.
The budget, really, the budget. It was absolutely not in the budget. So then the
Yeah.
thing was like, that was obviously very unexpected. So I was like, okay, honestly, I mean, now it sounds funny, but I already had brunch planned on Monday with my friend, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to brunch and then I'm gonna go pick up my car. And I'm not getting all that
Mm,
work done right now, and I'll figure it out
hmm.
later.
Yeah.
But I ended up, yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I told the people of this podcast that I'm going to be more vulnerable and I'm going to share more feelings because I'm not a forward facing feelings person. Like if somebody tells me something
Mm,
or something happens, I'm gonna again keep like a straight face in the moment or like try to
Mm,
process first. Like I don't like just making
yeah,
decisions or responses immediately. But
right.
I definitely was crying. I was like $3,100. Like, how the heck is
Oh,
somebody gonna pay for this? I was like, this is just not in the bingo card. I was
yeah.
like, it's about to be New Year. I have to pay $3,100 for this car.
Wow. Oh my
I'm trying to just
God.
turn this over to Maryland. Like, what am I gonna do
Right.
here? Yeah.
Wow.
So unexpected things, I just take a breath, relax for a second
Mm.
first, and try to figure out what am I gonna do. And I really do think about in Sippin Sunday Live when my friend Dozy was like, if I have something happen, I'm gonna go get some ice cream or do something that makes me feel better first
Yeah.
because the problem's
Yeah.
not gonna be gone.
That
Or
was
the
a real good
unexpected things not gonna
example.
be
If he
gone.
said, he had, he said like 700 being on this car. He went to get some ice cream. I'm like,
And
if I get
everybody
hit
should
with a
adopt that
bill,
because it goes back to again
like, look, Amber, I might get a piece of chicken. I'm sorry.
but because it goes exactly to what we said in the beginning that like if we could train our brains that like something
Yeah.
bad or negative happens, that it's not the end of the world. It's
Yeah.
just a
Right.
for the moment
Right.
problem,
Yeah.
and then you
Exactly.
can address it or figure it out. Like you're going to be okay. Because I think that
Yeah.
that's how I handle unexpected things, and I
Mm.
also am just like I've made it through anything that has happened any day before this. So like why
Yeah.
wouldn't I make it
Yeah.
through
It's
something again, regardless of what it is, whether
wow.
it's work, like personal. I mean, obviously there are some things that are a little bit different. Like another example is like when my grandma passed. It wasn't necessarily
Mm.
unexpected because she was sick and like she was older, but like you're never prepared. Similar to again, your
Right.
parent passing
Yeah.
away. You're just not prepared for that. So I
Exactly.
think that 2021 really was the year that I was just like, okay, if something happens, I need to be okay with just sitting in it, but like
Mm.
not making rash decisions or not like
Yeah. Right.
letting it completely affect my mood or how I show up for other people
Yeah.
and then being honest about like, hey, like I have this going on. I can't do this right now or I have this going on, like can
Yeah.
you reschedule? Because I think just basic
Yeah.
communication with people help you.
Yeah. And one thing that, and I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing, Amber, that you cried, after that
I was crying.
experience.
I was like,
And
"This
that's,
is too much money. Like,
and
what am I going to
you
do?" I was like,
know, and I think like that needs to be like normal. It's like I feel like Amber, like I had a really good cry at the beginning of this year when I was getting like really overwhelmed. And really, really after I cried, I felt so much better. Like I feel like we need
exactly. You have to let it
outlets to
out.
express like the feelings. Like something like that happens, it's okay for you to cry during an experience. So when the
Exactly.
unexpected happens, like realizing like it's normal to have these emotions of frustration and sadness and anger. That's a part of adulting, right? Being oh,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
and yeah, also as you mentioned, taking a moment to realize it's not
And I think like it's not just you going through it because it's like I don't think there's anything that anybody would ever experience that absolutely nobody has gone through. Like that's just
yeah,
not the reality of it.
right,
No matter
right,
if it's something like a car payment or something with your car, somebody passes away, you fail a class,
exactly.
you stub your toe, whatever it is, like
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
has experienced everything before. And I think that feeling and thought makes you feel better about whatever your situation is.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
But this has been wonderful. I really enjoyed talking to you. I mean, we talk anyway, like in the town when I see you and stuff like that and all those things. But to have people that
Yes,
I know and have like worked with or just seen in passing and stuff on the podcast and have like a more in-depth conversation always is great. I say it literally every time, but every person is different. Even though there might be similarities or themes in the conversations, every person is different. So the conversation is just always appreciated with somebody and you taking your time to come and all that stuff. I love so much. If you could just let everybody know where they can find you, where they can buy the watermelonade. Do you ship yet? That's an important question.
yes. Well, first of all, likewise,
Yes, sorry.
Amber,
Yeah,
it's been such
get my
yes, no,
swirling
no,
brain.
I got you. I just want to express my gratitude for your invitation to be a part of Sippin Sunday Live. It's been just as enjoyed to talk about you. Really have a chance to connect together, share experiences of my business journey here. Talking on your end as well. But yes, where can you find Jay's Watermelonade? Well, for one, you can find Jay's Watermelonade at jayswatermelonade.com.
It will be
Jay's
below.
Watermelon on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. Myself, Joyson BaLisamore, my name platforms. And currently, that's the number one question we get. Where can we find Jay's Watermelon? I will say right now, it's we mainly find us at events like Sippin Sunday. We made the next one, so come through.
Yes, you will.
So maybe community events, but this year we are getting into some new options. So like being able to order online and pick up from our commercial kitchen. Also having placement at some local cafes, restaurants in the Baltimore area, and hopefully soon, yeah, getting into shipping, so we'll be able to get Jay's Watermelon outside of Baltimore because we know people everywhere need some Jay's Watermelon and heart healthy
Yes, they
hydration.
do. So basically, he's saying you got to come to Baltimore right now to find him. And so if you're
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
Baltimore, make a trip. It's worth it.
it is. But we gonna get to y'all just not right now. Right now, y'all gotta come to Baltimore, but soon we gonna get to y'all.
Exactly. But thank you so much again for joining.
Yes, thank you, Amber.